Hello, this is Mr. Stewart. We're going to be looking at quiz chapter 3.1, and this is all about combining like terms. And so just a quick review. Terms are what we call any group of numbers or variables or a combination of the two with their signs in front. So just to make them one up, 3a plus 4 minus 5b plus, actually we'll do this, minus a. Okay, so as we're looking at this, we've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. 4 terms here. And so when it asks you to combine like terms, we're trying to identify terms that are alike. And the things that make terms alike are what we call the variables. So for example, 3a is like a negative a because they both share common variables. I wouldn't be able to combine 3a with 4 because this integer 4 does not have a variable. So this term, this positive 4 term, is unlike any other term here. Okay, and this negative 5b is also unlike any other term. So in this example, the only terms that I can combine that are alike would be a 3a and a negative a. So a 3a and a negative a. And don't forget that those negative signs are part of the terms. Positive signs are part of the term. So we always keep whatever's in front of the number. And so then we just combine the terms that are alike. So you just got to think, what is a 3a? Take away a, and you're going to be left with 4a. And then after that, you're just going to be left with everything else that is left over that you can't combine. And so these just come down. And this would be an example of combining like terms to simplify this expression. I know it didn't look that much more simple. I was only able to combine these two, but now it's a little bit easier to work with, and that's the point here. So as you're looking at this example over here, the real trick is to be able to identify the terms. You've got 3 terms here. Notice you've got yourself a positive 3w. Okay, you've got yourself a positive 5. Notice we're still including that positive there. And then we've also got another w, which it happens to be alike here. So you've got 3 terms, but the only 2 that are alike are your w's. So those are the ones you're going to be combining. Okay, so let's just kind of give you a hint as to what's happening here. Question number 2 is just kind of a fill in the blank. If you're not sure about this one, then I think what I'll try to do is provide for you a video link all about additive inverse. I will provide a video link about additive inverse, and that will be the most help to you. Go ahead and watch that video if you're not sure what additive inverse means, and that will help you a lot in this question here. So the question is simply saying 7m, a 7m, and then just fill in the blank here. So 7m plus a negative 7m, 7m minus a negative 7m, or 7m multiplied by 7m equals 0. So which one of these goes into here and makes this true? That's what this question is asking. Okay, so watch the additive inverse video, and it might help you understand a little bit more. Okay. So in this case, we're working with two different terms. We've got a term here and a term here. These are two different terms. And this right here, quick review, whenever you have a number next to a variable, like for example this expression or this term right here, what we're looking at is a coefficient and a variable. Right? So, but this is itself its own term. This is a term and it has a coefficient and a variable. And what's happening here is we're going to identify the other term. So we've got a negative 1/2 t and a negative 3/4 t. Well, they happen to be like terms because they share common variables, and the variables are exactly alike. So if they have the same variable and to the same power, which is true, then we can combine them. So oftentimes, and maybe I'll just make one up real fast. So I'll do like 2/3 t. So this is my made up one. Take away, let's do like 8/9 t. A lot of times, what I like to do is, a calculator's not, most calculators that you're using at this level aren't going to be able to combine variables. But what you can do is you can think about each coefficient. And you know that whatever happens, like if I, 3a minus 4a, really what's happening here is I can almost just know that the answer is going to be some number, some coefficient, and a. Really all we're doing is we're focusing on the coefficients. And so if I say, okay, well, what's 3 take away 4? Just ignore the variables for a second. 3 take away 4 is -1. And so a 3a and a -4a is a -1a. So it works the same down here. So if I just look at this, 2/3, I know that the answer is going to have some t in it. Okay, but 2/3 take away 8/9, well, just kind of ignore the variables and just focus on the coefficients. Let's do this quickly. So let's see, I want to make this 9, so I'm going to multiply this by 3 and this by 3. So I'm going to get 6/9 take away 8/9, and from here, this just goes back to chapter 2. So, if you need to use a calculator, if you're really not sure how to add fractions or subtract fractions together, do that, but most people should be able to do this at this point. 6 take away 8, all over the common denominator 9, and that's going to equal a negative 2/9. Now this number isn't my answer, but it does come up here, and that is my coefficient that goes along with the variable. So we say, 2/3 t and a -8/9 t is just the coefficients. 2/3 take away 8/9, which happens to be 2/9, and we would just keep the variable with it now. So the answer is -2/9 t. So you'll want to just evaluate that with this guy over here, using your own understanding. Okay, question number 4. Again, just you need to identify the terms. Okay, you've got 3 terms here, and don't forget that this term right here needs to include the negative. That's part of it. So if I'm looking at each one of these terms here, and I'm just considering this as a positive 12d, that's a mistake. That's an error. Okay, if you ignore the negatives, you're going to have major consequences in your computation, and you're going to get the wrong answer. You cannot ignore the negative. So then I'm going to identify the other terms. I've also got a positive d. And then this guy over here, it doesn't have a d, so it's just an integer, and so it doesn't belong to the other 2 terms. So identified the fact that these two terms can be added together, combined together, and then this term out to the right, the negative 3, is its own separate term, and so we're just going to let that be, and it's going to be a part of it still. Okay, so even decimals are considered terms. Instead of saying that it's a whole number, I'm just going to say the coefficient is a decimal. Here's your first term right here. So it's a 6/10 z. That whole thing needs to be included in the term. And let's see, are there any other z's? Yes, I do. I have a positive 2 4/10 z. If you think of those as terms that can be combined, you'll be just fine. Now you just got to make sure that you just focus on the coefficients. If you can add the coefficients together accurately, then the variable itself is going to be some unknown coefficient with the variable. It's just the variable just kind of comes along. And that's kind of the point here. And so I'm finally left with just one other term right here that's just can't be combined with anything else. So that one's going to be on its own. Okay, so a common misunderstanding is a lot of students want to take this 8 and start adding it to these coefficients here, but you can't because 8 does not have a z attached to it, right? That's not there. So these are unlike terms. 8 is not alike any of these terms out here or here. It just isn't. So hopefully this is helpful, and maybe take a look at the quiz again and take a look at the ones you missed and retake it.